ShinRobjira.
Well, that was kind of gross. What's going on there, friends and neighbors? I am ShinRobjira, and today I am going to be talking about the NECA Godzilla 1989 Biollante Bile repaint version. I have been very much looking forward to making a video on this, simply because I am just such a sucker for the wild paint jobs. So instead of wasting your time and me telling you all the things that most of you probably already know, let's get started. Now you might be asking, what's so special about this figure other than the fact that Biollante had a bio all over Godzilla's face and chest? The answer is nothing. That's it. What you see with this figure is essentially what you get. The same figure with a little bit more gloss and a little bit more paint. So instead of me boring you with all the stuff that you already know, I'm going to go over articulation really quick, and then I'm going to gush about the paint. So let's get going. But before I do all that, let's take a look at this box. Since this box is different from the original release, as you can see, we've got Biollante's mouth opening very wide, Godzilla being ensnared by its many-toothed tentacles over here. We've got Godzilla vs. Biollante on the front. We've got the same image and the same font and everything on the side with 65-year celebration. We've got the same exact thing on the other side, and on the back side, we have a couple of new pictures of Godzilla and a little bit of a read-up at the bottom. And taking a look at these pictures, you can see that the paint in these pictures and on the figure pretty much matches up. It's not a one-to-one matchup there, but I'm not complaining. Opening up the box, we can see our Biollante Bile Boy on the left, and we can see Biollante spitting her acid in the corner over here, and that is just fantastic. I gotta hand it to NECA. That's kind of funny. On the top, we've got this, and on the bottom, we've got this. And now, let's get to talking about this figure. Jaw can open and close. Spin at the head. Can look up, can look down, side to side. Same at the rest of the neck. Little stiff here and there. Can look up that far, can look down that far. Not very far at all. Biollante Bile T-pose Godzilla can go a full 360 degrees at the torso. Arms can move up and down like so. Premium flapping motion. Both the arms can move all the way around. You're going to get a swivel at the elbow and a bend at the elbow. Swivel at the wrist. A bend at the wrist, which is a little tight on this one. And you're also going to get a bend in and out at the palm as well. Legs can go all the way around. You'll get a nice bend in and out at the knee. You'll also be able to swivel at the knee. But my copy doesn't like to swivel at all, even after multiple soakings and after multiple hair drying events. You also get a swivel at the foot with a very minimal pivot. Now, let's take a look at this tail. Look at that. Multi-segmentation. It can articulate in a nice angle, like so. It can even do that in the opposite angle, like so. Now, I have seen and heard reports of this thing's tail just not going in, not staying, and it does leave a bit of a gap, and as you can see, mine does have a bit of a gap. But I have yet to run into any tail trouble with this, i.e. it falling off. I have put this tail in all the way, well, as all in the way as I possibly can, and it still hasn't fallen off, so maybe it's just an isolated thing, or maybe I'm just lucky. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, as you can see, the tail is not falling off. I'm actually really trying to make it fall off right now, and it isn't. It's just, you know, it's got that weird funky little gap right there, and it's not moving in any further, so I don't know. Although I will say Biollante Bile Boy's tail does have a bit more droop than the other versions did. But anyway, that's not why you're here. You're here for paint. Now, at first glance, you're really not going to need to ask what helps this figure stand out, because look at him! Looks like somebody hocked a loogie on Godzilla. You've got all the crazy greens, all the crazy yellows, you got spackle everywhere. This is just a really cool look for this figure, and I do enjoy how it looks. Now, I was seeing some complaints on Twitter that the gloss that NECA used on this figure kind of fuse these two joints together. Thankfully, I didn't run into that with my copy. There does seem to be some weirdish residue over here. That might just be from the green paint. I don't know. But I made sure to heat this guy up with a hair dryer. So if you're running into that problem, try doing that. Although the person's post that I saw, they had to cut the gloss off. It was that thickly applied. So be on the lookout for that. Be prepared for that, I guess. But for the most part, I haven't run into any glossing issues preventing the figure from doing what it needs to do, and that's pose and look pretty. But anyway, looking at the green paint that is gracing Godzilla's face, I love it. Yellow and green Guy Fieri flames on the side of Godzilla's head over here, and the green really does just coat Godzilla's noggin. Like, he is just covered. I do believe this little speckle over here isn't supposed to be there, but I'm not complaining. One thing I am seeing, if we get a nice close-up, do you see this little pattern over here? Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but does that mean these applications were printed on? That definitely doesn't look like it was painted on. I mean, in some areas, it definitely looks like it was painted on. But you see this throughout the figure. You especially see it on the left arm a lot. But I was, like, taking close-up shots of this, and I noticed that, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if that means this was all printed on. You see, I don't know what it takes to make a figure. I'm just the guy that comments on the final product or anything like that. But in seeing this, I'm pretty sure that means that this was printed on. This wasn't hand painted on, or at least some of it wasn't. I'm not sure. If anybody can enlighten me on that in the comment section down below, please do. But anyway, yeah, you are going to see some of that on the figure, more so on the left arm. That's where I've seen it the most. On the snout, you're going to see a little bit of that. I really don't consider that much of a complaint on my end, because at the end, the paint still looks good. So looking on the opposite side of Godzilla's head here, you can see more of that light green, dark green, a little bit more of that yellowish spackle over here. Not so much orange as I originally thought, but I really like that the different tones of green really show over here. You got the darker green at the root with the yellowish green kind of like coating over it, looking very nice. You're going to see that same kind of variation throughout the figure. You can see it over here on the neck. Speaking of which, looking at the neck over here, you can see a lot of that yellow spackle. You're going to see a lot of that yellow and green on the neck as well. I really am just a sucker for this kind of paint application. I think it looks so cool. I love the mixture of colors that NECA used, that I wished more of it was applied to the figure, but that's just me. All right, and here is the left arm. As you can see, there's a little bit more of a darker green coating this arm. You are going to obviously see that variation in yellowish greens and such. If you move the arm over a little bit, you can see some of that yellow spackle making it onto the inside of the arm, but for the most part, the opposite side of the arm remains untouched. My copy, though, does have a couple of droplets of green on the claws, but again, not complaining. Here you can see the printed on portion. Even if you look over here on the bicep, like, you can see like that scan like printed on. Yeah, you can see it all along over here. So it looks like the darker green might have just been like the blueprint, and the lighter green might have just been what was gooped on. Could be wrong. I really do like how the patterns of green match up when you have the arm posed in a specific way. I mean, it doesn't really bother me when, you know, I bend an elbow and you see a little bit of that like just not matching. It is goop. It's going to seep from places and everything. So I do like that there is like some sort of a, hey, pose Godzilla's arm like this and you'll see this, that, and the third. It's not needed, but there it is. Intentional or not, it looks cool. I like it. Now, when looking at the other arm, there is going to be variation between the two arms. Over here, you're only going to get a couple of goops of green paint on the bicep, shoulder, and elbow area. Even when you turn the arm to its opposite side, you're going to see less. Most of the green on this arm went towards the forearm and on the hand. And just look at that. That is fantastic. That looks so cool. When moving over to the hand over here, you can see some of that green paint is kind of coming off on the palm joint there. You can also see, I think that's like air bubbles from the paint just like drying and there being air bubbles there. I don't know the process of this yet again. I am just commenting on it, but you can see a little bit more of that along the palm over here on Godzilla's hand. Yeah, it just looks really good on the forearm too. Oh lord, he T-posing again. So as you can see, even on the torso, you're going to have like a couple of droplets that just kind of like line up with one another. I feel this is probably the closest you'll get in those terms. Like you see like this, that, and the third. I don't think that's actually intentional. It might be I don't know. It's cool. It looks awesome. I especially just love how this yellow is just pooled just all over the chest over here. It looks so good. It's nice and glossy and goopy and it's very ooky looking. And you know, we can see some more of that yellow spackle over here on the chest. Moving just a little bit south, you can see more of that. There is going to be some paint present under Godzilla's arms over here. As you can see, nothing too crazy, but you are going to see, like, you know, you can see some of the dark greens over here. And on this side, you can see more of the dark greens. Just more of that fantastic spackle. Moving down to Godzilla's thighs, you are going to get some of that drip going on over here on the thighs. I don't know if those those are meant to match up or not, but that's just the way I've been posing the figure. And you are mostly just going to see spackle when it comes to Godzilla's shins and feet. There isn't really much on the feet. It's mostly just going to be on the legs, and if you bend the knees, there's going to be some spackle in the area that covers the knees as well. So when you bend them back and everything, you know, disappear, reappear, blah, 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 blah. Lot of spackle on the thighs over here. You're going to get some on the tail as well. Looking very, very, very nice and shiny. More than likely to simulate the fact that Godzilla was in water when he got the acid spit on him. Moving on to the opposite side, you can see not too much spackle on this side, but when you look at this leg, there's a lot more spackle on the opposite side, and on both sides, really. Just nothing on the foot, a little bit of misplaced toe paint on the ankle over there, a little bit over here as well. Nothing to complain about on my end though, and a little bit more spackle on the tail. And as I'm sure you saw before, this figure is going to have some green splattered on the dorsal fins as well. Mine's got this weird, like, little bit of, like, misplaced yellow, it looks like. I don't know if that was misplaced or not, so I can't really say, but that one's nice and green. And looking at the back of the dorsal fins, you can see this guy's a little deformed. I'm gonna have to hit that with the blow dryer, but as you can see, the green paint isn't just going to be on one side of these. They are going to carry over somewhat. Now, I think my major complaint with this isn't even really a complaint, it's just a preference. Vibe with me here, fam. I really do wish there would have been more green traveling down Godzilla's head, down his back like this. Again, this is just a preference. This is not me, you know, taking a shot at NECA or anything, but I really just would have loved to have this green pooling down onto Godzilla's back, really just splashing the dorsal fins in that green. That would have been so very cool. I would have loved it. I really would have. If you haven't been with this channel for too long, I really do like nutty little paint jobs. The original Godzilla GMK Atomic Blast figure is one of my favorite repaints from NECA just because of how crazy it looks. The crazy blues, the splash effects, it looks great. I love it. I wish they would have done that with all their Atomic Blast figures. Really, that's my only major complaint with this figure. I don't have much else to really complain about. I think the eyes look pretty good this time around. No smudges on mine this time. The red for the side of the eyes does look a little spotty. There's that, I guess. This guy is a little wonk-eyed, just a tad. Might be just how that one pupil just might not be centered. But anyway, you might get some green paint on the teeth on your figure. That is not a complaint for me because Godzilla did get blasted in the face with this acidy green. So that's not going to bother me at all. And before I forget, let us plug in Godzilla's only accessory, that being the Atomic Blast piece, which is exactly the same as the original. All right. Vibe with me, fam. One more time, before we finish this video off, vibe with me. I know it wouldn't have made any sense whatsoever. I am specifically just talking from the realm of something just looking cool. I honestly think NECA should have used the different greens that they used to coat Godzilla, and I really think that maybe like this portion of the Atomic Blast could have been green, as if it was kind of like being blasted out of his mouth. I know it doesn't make any sense. It's just a cool little effect that I personally would have enjoyed. This is not a nitpick on my end. This is me just, you know, hey, if I had creative liberties, I would have tried something like that. And I feel like that might have hooked a few more people on this figure. You know, just for the people who think this guy getting splattered with green slime doesn't constitute another purchase. But again, that's just me. That was a little suggestion that I had. I thought that would have looked pretty cool. Anyway, let's get into those size comparisons. Here we have the NECA Biollante Bile Godzilla with the Bandai Movie Monster Series Biollante and the original Bandai Biollante figure. Here he is next to the Shokugan Godzilla 1989 and a fellow NECA green boy, the Godzilla Reactor Glow figure, exclusive to Loot Crate. And here is the Biollante Bile Boy with his predecessor, the original NECA Godzilla 1989 figure release with their Atomic Blast pieces in their mouths and out of their mouths. I think they look great together, I really do. Here we have the Bile Boy with all the Space Godzilla figures that I own. Just awful.
Why does Godzilla look like he himself?
While I do find it to be somewhat of a shame that NECA's final Godzilla releases were two repaints that were essentially rushed out to market, I do think celebrating their final two releases in ways like this with extravagant colors was pretty dang cool. Again, I'll always wish for more, I'll always be a greedy collector like that, but I also don't have a problem with NECA's swan song being these just wild repaints. Of course, I'm always going to want more NECA Godzilla stuff, I'm always going to want even wilder NECA Godzilla paint jobs, but for the time being, we're just going to have to deal with what we have, unfortunately. So how about we cut back to my face and we can end this video off. Another hot one with crappy AC. Damn me. Anyway, everybody, those are my thoughts and opinions on the NECA Godzilla 1989 Biollante Bile repaint. I imagine this is not going to be for everybody. I know not everybody is going to be driving out to their Targets and Walmarts looking for this thing in droves, but me personally, as soon as this hit Target's website, I picked it up. You know, this is the final official NECA Godzilla release, and this might be the final NECA Godzilla that we ever really get to see, which is depressing to even think about. This and the Hyper Maser Cannon Blast version just proves that NECA were able to do these wild paint jobs, and it really is a sour note for me because I would have killed to see more of these. Maybe in time. Maybe in time. But anyway, this is part 2 of the NECA finale series that I am doing. I have come into contact with something else that I am going to be... If you would like to be part of the Thank You NECA compilation video that I am working on, there will be guidelines and a link to a Google Drive folder in the description below. You'll be able to drop your picture and or video file in there. Please, if you are doing a video, introduce yourself at the beginning of the video so I know who to credit. I'm gonna try and not miss anybody on this. I have a bunch of comments that I have screenshotted. I've received a bunch of photos. If you have any trouble uploading that file, please contact me directly on Discord or through the YouTube channel's email. I am checking that a lot more frequently nowadays. So that's that. I have been ShinRobjira, and I will see you all next Friday, where I talk about the one Playmates figure that ain't gonna get no love from me. See you then.
You ready for Godzilla?